Hello, everyone,
Hi.
and welcome to our...
Why did you come up with this idea?
Because it was festive, and it's new, and people were talking about it, and, I mean, they were talking about it 3 weeks ago, so we're late already on this.
Yeah, but you know what? It's okay. You know why? Because shit lasts forever.
I think we're just gluttons for pain.
I thought I was just a glutton with this stomach, but I guess I'm a glutton for punishment as well.
So, we watched Home Sweet Home Alone, which is on Disney Plus from 2021, if you're watching this in the future. And, you know, for the longest time, I have said to myself that Christmas Vacation 2 is by far the worst Christmas movie I've ever seen in my life.
It's definitely the worst sequel to a Christmas classic.
Now, Home Sweet Home Alone really brought it to task. I do think Christmas Vacation 2 is still the worst because it's not really a movie, it's an abstract ideas of Cousin Eddie, I don't know. But with Home Sweet Home Alone, it at least copies the original to where it has a structure.
That's debatable, but I see where you can make that assumption.
No. They copy the original and they do it all wrong.
They put the original in a blender, and then whatever solid chunks they got out of it slapped onto this.
They also drew, references out of a jar, I feel like.
Because a lot of them don't make sense, don't hit, or in the case of the only cameo from somebody in any of the other movies, it just feels unearned. And I think this movie is a great example of milking a franchise just for attention. And you gotta remember, full disclosure, I've seen every Home Alone movie there ever was.
I haven't seen 5.
I saw 1, I saw 2, I saw 3, 4, and 5 before I saw this one. So I've seen all 6 Home Alone movies. And here's the thing. Up until watching this movie, I've often said that 4 is the absolute worst. People shit on 3, but I say 3 gets more hate than it deserves.
Spoiler, we're going to talk about 3 in a separate video.
Yeah, we will get into that.
Yeah.
Number 5, I think, was guilty by association of the 4th movie. It's actually not that bad. It's not good. It's not great. It's watchable. You don't feel bad after you watch it. You can kind of get into it. And it's got Malcolm McDowell. So you don't feel so dirty, you know?
This one feels insulting. It's like, I can imagine how they got this, okay? So Disney, they buy Fox. So they got all the Fox stuff, so including Home Alone. An executive sat there and took notes on the beats of the movie. They didn't take the heart beats of the movie. They don't take the heart or the charm. They just take things...
They took the drum beats, not the heart beats,
yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes. And...
That's going to be the first Mint Condish t-shirt.
Yes. Let me pull up Home Sweet Home Alone, because I'm so prepared here. It was written by Mikey Day and someone else, basically SNL writers.
Oh.
And
I didn't know that.
And generally Mikey Day's a funny comedian.
Was he actually in the movie?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
They got a whole litany of comedians. They have let me name all the comedians.
And the cast isn't that bad either.
Okay, so we have Ellie Kemper.
Name-wise.
Ellie Kemper, you know, she has been some questionable things in her past, but she did The Office, she did Kimmy Schmidt, she did all kinds of things.
All right.
Rob Delaney's been in funny things. He's the husband of Ellie Kemper in the movie.
Okay.
Pete Holmes plays not Uncle Frank.
Oh,
he's generally kind of funny.
Oh, you mean the horrible father?
He's not the father. He's the uncle.
He wasn't?
No.
He's not the kid. He's not the kid's father?
The father is Andy Daly, who's in the movie for 2 scenes. Andrew Daly, whatever.
That completely went over my head.
Also has Chris Parnell in it. Comedians. And Keaton Thompson. Keaton Thompson special. Zero laughs.
There's really not jokes in it either.
Oh, no, there is jokes. There's Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, that's
you mentioned, is this for kids? There's an O.J. Simpson joke.
Because kids are just clamoring for all that sweet O.J. humor.
To make you feel old, kids that watch this movie are born in the 2010s, right?
Right.
So the O.J. trial's 20 years ago.
Well, see, that's the weird thing about this movie is it's
there's a beeper joke.
They throw references like that, and I think for the people who grew up with the franchise, but then it's like, it's really weird. It's like a movie designed for younger people, but they throw out these little jokes for the older set who maybe watched the franchise growing up, and it's just kind of like, it doesn't work in either way. It doesn't really work as a kids movie with the adult content that's in there, and I mean, the violence in this movie.
I mean, humor. Scarface.
Why is he dressed like Scarface? Why is he... If anything, here's what I don't understand. They got him burying his head into a mountain of M&Ms. Wouldn't it make more sense to have him like in like have a scene where like, he opens up a bunch of Fun Dip and he piles it on and goes face first into the Fun Dip? That makes sense.
Or just have whipped cream. Just put whipped cream all over. You can't do Fun Dip.
Or
because there's a lot of product placement in the movie, so they probably couldn't get Fun Dip.
Or you could do your own fake version. Call it like Silly Dip or something. I don't know. But here's another great idea. Don't put a Scarface reference in this. There's your idea. Do not put a Scarface reference in this. It didn't matter. It's not needed. And it's just real. It was just... If you're going to do it, go all the way. Either do it or don't.
I wrote in my notes, this is the reason the Boston Tea Party happened. In the future somehow. But like... Okay, it stars Archie Yates. Archie Yates, who is the kid.
Right.
He plays Maxwell Johann Mercer. Wow, what a relatable name. The kid is great in Jojo Rabbit. He's charming. He's a little wacky. It works. It's so that's where I'm like, it's not the kid's fault because it's the writing and the directing. Yeah, that's where it comes down to, because he's a delight in Jojo Rabbit.
Not here.
Yeah, not here.
I've never hated a child more than I did watching this movie until, and I pointed this out to you while I was watching it. As soon as the moment happened, I was like, is the little kid in the stroller going to be the real culprit in all this? And you didn't say anything, but I think by not saying anything, you confirmed I was right. And sure enough, we get to the end, and I'm right.
I couldn't, spoiler, I didn't see it coming because I forgot there was a child there.
Yeah. What was up with the dude's relatives being there? It's like they were literally created just to be a plot device.
They were
not to show off anything, but just literally to be a reason why what happens with the doll happens, and also to be like, by the way, did you know these guys are poor?
Yes, that's pretty much what it was. It's kind of like
because trying to get a $200,000 doll out of someone else's house doesn't prove they're poor enough.
All right, so we have to talk about the villains, because...
You mean the kid?
Yes. At no point... This is where I knew we were having a problem. It's when we were about 30 minutes in, and I've seen more from the McCarthys, I think that was their name? The Mackenzies. It was the Mackenzies, that's what it was.
All right, you got more out of that than I did.
The Mackenzies, they're trying to sell their house because they can't afford to keep the house. They can't afford to have kids, I guess. I don't know what the whole deal is with that thing. But
it's very convoluted.
And at no point did this brother of his, he throws snowballs at him, but at no point was like, you know what, you're having some financial issues. Let me help you.
Well, he can't help him if all he's there to do is provide the reason for the whole movie, for the movie's twist.
So the problem with the movie I have, there's a lot of problems, but the villains is the main one.
That was my main issue with this movie too.
Because
not alone.
What makes Home Alone great is the traps. Everyone talks about the traps, the booby traps. That's it. There's also a heart in there,
right?
But the booby traps is what brings people to. Everyone remembers, like Marv. Right. Oh,
but none of that shit matters if you're not sympathizing with Kevin's situation and relating to him.
It's not even that. It's
like
okay, when they get hit by these traps will kill people, obviously.
Right.
Like you get electrocuted, you're dead, or getting a brick thrown at from the freaking roof.
Well, you are thinking about the second one. The first one was relatively,
except for the fire on the head.
You can survive that, I think.
Anyway, so
only with the hat
or falling on the steps. Or the fucking iron.
The iron.
Okay, so anyway, we're getting off topic here.
We're getting on to topics we'd rather talk about.
So, what the problem with the movie is when, Harry or Marv or Mr. Jernigan or Mr. Unger and all, they all getting hurt because they are There's no sympathetic to him. I mean, Marv has, like, the heart of a buffoon.
Right. I thought you were going to say the heart of a baboon.
No, like, he's just an idiot. He's a lovable idiot, but he's still a villain. The wet bandits, or sticky bandits, the wet bandits rob people's houses and flood them. The Home Alone 3 villains are literal terrorists.
Yes.
Home Alone 4 is still Marv. I don't know what was 5.
5, that was the one with Malcolm McDowell and his little crew.
Were they terrorists? Were they just criminals?
I think
Or did they want to keep their house afloat?
If I remember it correctly, I think in reality, the house that the family moved into was technically his, and he had something in a safe that he needed. But things made more sense. Trust me when I tell you, 5 makes more sense than this.
Basically, because now these characters are sympathetic and you feel bad for them, these booby traps are mean.
Right.
They're not fun. They're not Looney Tunes. I know he watches Looney Tunes in that minivan. That's how he gets left behind.
Which I will give them a little bit of credit for.
Yeah.
At least they came up with something that's not that far out of the realm of possibility. Like, again, it just seems like everyone else in that family was literally put in this movie not to be characters, but to just be the excuse for why he gets home alone, because he's like, oh, I'm tired of all this noise, everybody's an asshole. Well, meanwhile, he's a huge asshole.
But
and then he's like, I'm going to go into the car to get some peace and quiet. And then he falls...
Yeah, basically, it's Looney Tunes. Like, it works because these criminals get their comeuppance and punishment. These people don't want to do this.
Yeah, it's like, hey, watch these down on their luck people who don't want to rob this kid, but they have to. Watch him
get doll.
Yeah, it's like, watch him get lit on fire. Watch them get hit in the head with pool balls. Watch them take thumbtack darts to the fucking face.
Watch the one guy pull his tooth out.
Yeah! And, oh my god!
And they also have the brutality.
That blew my mind.
They had brutality in it. And if you watch any Home Alone movie, there's no... The traps are... They're painful, but they don't show people's teeth get knocked out. Harry's gold tooth came out.
His is fake, though.
But no, here's the thing. They didn't show him pull it out of his mouth.
Right.
It was just like, oh, you're missing teeth. What? I'm gonna kill again. I'm gonna kill.
Right, but it's also fake, too, so if he loses it, it's not as bad as when a guy lost his actual tooth.
Yeah, and also, that's not how VR works.
Yeah.
There's a point where they totally rip off the original Home Alone with the cookie.
Yeah.
And he shoves his face into the snow. Like, we keep doing these callbacks.
Well...
That just, like, they're inferior callbacks to the actual...
Well, going back to Home Alone 5, remember I had told you that in Halloween... God, that was another review that you can watch on our channel. Going back to Home Alone 5... they did a bit where I think they broke in the first time just to, like, scope it out the house. And then when they come back in, that's when the traps are set. And so, like, there were, like, cookies or brownies or something laid out. And so one of the criminals takes it. So at least they set a precedent where it's like, okay, he had a cookie. But I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's like there's a precedent to it. And also, it's in the kitchen. It's not laid out on the fucking... Like, here's the thing. They even try to do a thing where it's like he left out a card for Santa. It's like, oh, here's our cookies for you. Name me one child, Disney, who has ever, or 20th Century Fox, has ever laid out cookies and milk for Santa outside.
Okay. All right. And there's...
You can't.
There's also Home Alone 3 reference. It's when they fall into the frozen pool.
Oh, yeah.
The writing of this movie is so weird. Like, there's a whole thing with Alexa being in German, and there's a grandmother they see at the church, and also, like, the kid is stealing toys from the church.
Right. That didn't sit right with me.
There's just a whole lot of odd choices.
They more or less
shot it like it's like a Netflix show.
Yeah, they more or less made the kid a brat. As I put it to you, he's kind of like a mix of Kevin, Fuller, and Buzz. He's Kevin in the sense of he gets home alone. He's Fuller in the sense of he drinks so much soda that he pisses himself all the time.
His first line in the movie is about that.
Yes, his first line is like, I have to pee. And I'm just like, this is our hero. And he's like whining about not being able to get McDonald's. Like, come on. This is our guy. This is the kid we're supposed to be rooting for. But then, but going back to what I was saying, so like I said, he's Kevin because he's home alone. He's Fuller because he drinks a lot of soda. And then he's Buzz just because he's an asshole. Like, there's nothing redeeming about this kid. He's just an asshole. And the people, and their excuse is, when he overheard them talking about finding the, quote, ugly boy, he thought they were talking about him when they were referencing the doll. But again, there was times when even after they were in the house, and yes, they broke in, but he kind of drew first blood on that one. They say, we just want to talk. And it's not like Harry and Marv, where they already proved that they're violent, whatever. They literally just want to talk. And this kid just starts blasting. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to like this little shit?
And there's also a point where the wife gets hit with, like, soda bottles, and then her feet get lit on fire, and then, like, a cold hose hits her. And then she starts crying afterwards, and I'm like, I feel bad for these people. Oh, but it's a misunderstanding. Yeah, it's a misunderstanding, and you're home alone. I'll forget it. You put second-degree burns on my feet. So,
this movie asks a lot out of you. They really want you to check your brain off at the door.
Can I explain two scenes that really hit the nail on the head? I'll tell you the scene where I felt personally insulted.
Wait, there's only one?
There's one that I feel literally insulted. The Oh Holy Night sequence.
Oh.
Where, in the original, it's when Kevin goes to the church, there's the choir of children doing Oh Holy Night, and he sees Old Man Marley. And
it's when he
yes.
he basically realizes there was more to him than meets the eye, and he turns out he's actually a really nice guy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great scene. Heartwarming.
Yeah. So in this movie, they do that reference, but also it's them trying to climb a wall, and he loses his pants and falls in the snow.
And he farts. You forgot about him farting in your face.
Too.
I remember I even said to you, I was like...
I was so insulted.
I didn't even get to the pantsing when I said this to you. I was like, all he needs now is to just piss and shit all over her, and then the comedy, the trash comedy trifecta will be complete.
So that really... I was insulted on that scene. That scene alone was terrible.
And the whole thing about it is like, the other thing that got me about that scene in the context of the movie itself is, so the whole thing is they're streaming the thing on their phone so they can still watch her performance. At no point does the daughter get mad or angry that her parents are gone. Like, they don't even address it. She's not like, hey, where's Mom and Dad? They missed my performance. And then Keenan can be all like, oh, your dad was getting a head start on going to the gym, working out his belly or some stupid shit. Because in the movie, they're selling their house, and Keenan's like the realtor or something. And they don't want to tell the kids, so he pretends to be the owner of a gym.
Some weird man. And just
he pretends to be an owner of a gym, and then helping, like a personal trainer or something. Which I will give Keenan credit. He does look like he lost some weight, so it's not that far-fetched. Easy for me to say.
Okay, we're still halfway, okay. The second scene that really... This is where it all kind of came together for me. About this movie not having heart. It's the scene when the mom is in the airport, the Tokyo airport.
Right.
And you see her, she's just like pondering, like there's emotion. What's her son doing? She's afraid. What's going on? And I felt nothing. Nothing.
Well, because she means nothing.
Because the pacing, this is why it doesn't work to put the focus on the villains. It's because you need to focus on Kevin or Max on this. You need to focus on Max and the relationship between the mother and Max.
Yeah, they're not home alone. He's home alone.
Yes, and that's the problem. Basically, his mom yells at him because the place is too loud. Because it was fucking loud. Basically, it took the whole scene, with like the milk and all that from the original and just squished it into a 30-second thing.
Yeah. With only a few people, too.
Yeah, and the problem is, I feel nothing when she's desperate talking to the airline person because...
Well, and she's also borderline racist because she's like assuming that she doesn't speak English. They do this thing where like she assumes she doesn't speak English because...
Yes.
I mean, it's Japan. I don't expect anybody to speak English.
Yeah.
And then she speaks in fluent English, and I guess that's the joke, but it's not funny. Now see, that joke can work if the roles were reversed. So, like, for example, a great example of it. You see Naked Gun 3, right?
Yes.
Remember the part at the taxi when they keep trying to get a cab, but everyone speaks a foreign language? They get to the one guy who actually looks like he would speak a foreign language, and they just give up. And then he just, in a perfect English, is like, I wonder what they wanted.
I was getting really afraid in that airport. That hologram John Candy was going to show... Candygram, if you will. I was afraid he was going to show up. But they do the uncomfortable situation. She's on the airplane with the guy who does not believe in personal space. And the whole thing is... She's uncomfortable! Just like in the original. But the original, she was in a small van. She wasn't uncomfortable. She was uncomfortable because she's like wondering what's going on with her son.
Right.
But you had John Candy as Gus. You had all these people... And they were a quirky polka band.
And the thing is that they were trying to make her trip. They were trying to ease her mind a little bit, make her trip a little more tolerable.
I mean, he straight up says, "We left him at your funeral home." Yeah, and it's just like, therapy helps.
The kids are resilient, though.
Not this movie.
I'll give the kid credit. He's resilient.
It's like they just didn't understand that. Like we mentioned in Home Alone 3 that it was written by John Hughes. 1 and 2 was written by John Hughes. Basically, any holiday movie like Christmas Vacation or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, they have a heart.
Right.
And I feel like the people, the director and the writers, just looked at it and just did not get what made it special. This movie is not special.
Can I be real? I think this was just made by people who don't like, written by people who don't like kids.
Yes.
I think that's what we got here. I think we got a kids movie written by people who don't like kids, which is fine. You know. Keep it to yourself. Remember, kids are not evil. I'm not saying that there aren't little brats out there who get on your nerves, but there's a lot of really good kids too.
I guess we can finish it off by just saying one thing. I think you'll agree with this sentiment.
All right.
Sweet Home Alone is what the French call les incompetents.
Yeah, or it's what an American would call a piece of fucking shit.
It's like, Fuller, your reboot. Go lay off the reboots. And then the movie wets its bed. See, we're writing better jokes than the freaking people.
Oh. That's like that horrible reference to Angels with Filthy Souls. And
my God.
And then they have to be all like, well, I don't know why they keep trying to remake the classics. It was like a
sci-fi movie.
And I'm just like, but like, you're in a movie trying to do that. And you're really bad. Like, why do all the bad movies do this? Like, if you gotta put that in your movie, I'm just my last thought before we end this. If you're gonna make a movie, there's two things that you need to remember to not do. Number one, don't make a reference to whether or not they're quote-unquote ruining the classics with remakes, whatever. It's been done, and nobody cares. Look at Scream 4, best example of it, the only good example of it. And number two, don't throw in the Frankenstein's monster joke. It's not a good sign when your only memorable joke is like an actually thing. It's not even a joke. It's just people who want to sound smart always gotta be like, well, actually, the monster's called Frankenstein's monster. He doesn't have a name. Frankenstein created him. And to which I would like to say, yeah, nerd.
Also, 2014 called. They want their stepping on a Lego is the worst pain in the world joke back. No more Lego jokes. No more beeper jokes. Can we lay off the beeper jokes?
Yeah.
It was funny, when we're talking about, it's from 1994 to 1997.
Right.
It's not funny. To people that are like kids these days, that makes me feel really old saying kids these days. But they don't care about beepers. They don't care about VHS.
Dude, people who grew up with beepers don't care about beepers.
Yes! We were kids when beepers were a thing, and we hate it. We don't remember it.
There's outdated, and then there's old school. Beepers are outdated, but like retro video games, VHS tapes, stuff, vinyl records. That's old school. You know what I mean? Old school is fun. Old school is something you can go back to. Shit like beepers and things like that, you don't want to go back to that. Why would you? Why? Why? It's not funny, it's not cool, and just stop doing it. And I think we need to leave it at that. Just if we could sum up this movie in one phrase, it's just stop doing that. Just stop it.